Hello again, everybody. This is Derek, and I am coming back at you with another Wargaming and miniature video. In today's video, we're continuing on with my O Group project update. And in today's update, I've got my British battalion that I want to showcase, and then talk about like what I'm planning on doing upcoming for my O Group project. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is just fly through the miniatures that I have completed this week. And this is the Battalion Headquarters, right? It's a Bowetta scenic base. It's a resin base with all the like accessories and things like that. And then I threw a few Flames of War miniatures on there. And added an antenna to our radio man. And that's our battalion headquarters. There's enough room on the base to place a die to keep track of battalion command. Now I penciled in right there 3rd Battalion Headquarters. It didn't matter. I just wanted to write something on that white plaque. Now in this case, I went ahead and applied a little grass on the inside of what you would assume is the building. But really it's only a straight wall, so it's not actually a building, it's a wall in a courtyard. And this metal gate there would have been like attached to this pillar or pylon or whatever as a gate, and it was torn down or thrown down or driven over. In my headcanon, I think the troops laid it down so that they could walk on it if it ever got too muddy. And so I went ahead and thought it would be appropriate to apply a little grass on both sides of the wall and a tuft and stuff like that. And the main reason why I did that was to help disguise the bases of the Flames of War figures. All right, let's show the next thing. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to show off is the 4 25-pound guns that I put together. These are the artillery fire missions that the British could have. Now, I don't need 4. I only need 3. But because I had 4 in the set, I went ahead and put them all together. I am going to sell one of these guns on my eBay store. So if you're interested, I think I'm going to sell... It's going to be either this one or this one. Wait, my fingers. This one. Because of how close the trailer is to the edge of the the edge of the base. I went ahead and put 4 figures on each base. It's irrelevant. This is not even something that you need to actually build for O Group because this is off table, but I use the individual bases as a fire mission, and I just sit them on the table as tokens, so that when you do call an artillery mission in, you just remove one of the bases. All right, next one. Okay, and continuing on with the battalion headquarters assets, we have 2 mortars. I personally put down 2 mortars for my battalion mortars. I could put 1, I could put none, because this game assumes the battalion mortars are also off the table. but I put them on there so that I could mark them with out of ammo if they ever get low on ammo, or I can place order tokens on them. And it's just a reminder that I do have them as an alternative to the artillery. Now there is an FO, and he's got a radio man with, and I used a fishing line antenna as well. Now this Jeep I had put together and painted for my airborne, obviously Red Berets, and I'm going to use it until I actually get a a Commonwealth or just a regular Jeep. Once I do that, then like if I get the Jeep Recon Pack, I'll probably make 2 of them for Americans and then 2 of them for British. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do, but that's an airborne Jeep, but that's okay. We can use it for the FO. I considered using a carrier, but it didn't seem right. All right, next group. All right, guys, now here are some of the support options that you can get for your battalion. There's a 3-inch anti-tank gun with a prime mover there. And then we also have the 2 6-pounders right there with the CWT-15s. And then there's a couple of medium machine gun teams. And finally, there's a couple of Piat teams back here. Now, depending on how you pick and choose and organize your forces, you might be able to get a second machine gun. And now the Piat, one of the Piats comes with the first medium machine gun, but the second Piat would normally come with my carrier platoon, which I have not made. So that's basically just an extra Piat that I'm going to hold on to until we get the additional like platoons and companies for the British. And this is only some items. This is some that I have. I mean, I've got a few other support options I'll show you when we get there. All right, now before I pick it up, I started to pick it up and then I decided I need to come back and tell you my diversity of miniatures that I've got here. This anti-tank gun is a forged in battle miniature. This prime mover is an Old Glory Command Decision model. These 2 trucks here are Plastic Soldier Company trucks. These 2 anti-tank guns are Flames of War anti-tank guns. These miniatures here are Command Decision, Old Glory, and the infantry, all the infantry throughout this battalion are a mixture of Forged in Battle, Plastic Soldier, Old Glory 15, Command Decisions, and Flames of War. So that pretty much tells you I have no problem using whatever works. Yeah, this is a metal miniature. It's pretty damn heavy. This guy's metal as well, but being an anti-tank gun, it's not really that heavy. Everything else is plastic. That's not true. Some of these men are metal as well, especially all the Forged in Battle ones are. All right, next group. All right, now before I bring out the meat and potatoes of the battalion, the infantry companies, I wanted to show just a handful of vehicles that I have completed. I have a number of Fireflies finished. I also have a number of US M4 Shermans, both the A3 and the the cast hull and the welded hull. So I've got a bunch of those. Now I also have the Mark V, which is the British Sherman, but those are still bare plastic. I bought them from a 3D printer, 3D miniature. I think it's called 3D Figures or something like that on eBay. I bought about a dozen of them so that I could field like a full company. But those are still plastic, straight, gray plastic. I haven't touched them yet. Now I also have about a dozen carriers. This one you can see this is my Forward Observer carrier, but I'm not sure if I could use it as the Forward Observer transport. I'm sure I could and just treat it like a Jeep or whatever. But there are units that use carriers, so I'll just reserve that for those. But I do have a bunch of carriers. I also have some Lloyd carriers for anti-tank guns, and a bunch of Shermans. Oh, I've got a Bofors as well, but I didn't feel like I needed to bring it out. I don't plan to use it anytime soon. All right, so now let me show you the infantry companies. All right, this is one of the three companies. You can see the company commander has the same figures that the Forward Observer has. It's got the officer and the radioman. But I think that looks good as a company commander. Plus it being on the round base really makes it distinctive. Now, in this company, I decided to base the combat patrols and the company commander with gray. That's going to easily identify which combat patrols are in which company. Now, the infantry, I try to do all my infantry with 3 figures on a small base, the small Flames of Warrior. 3 figures on a small Flames of War base. And that gives it kind of a full appearance. And I also try to mix in all the support weapons, like the 2-inch mortars and the Piat. There might be a guy running around with a Piat, and then there's a guy with a Bren gun laying on the ground. There's a guy with a Piat right there. And then there's also a guy with a Bren gun standing as well. But there's a mixture of these support weapons, and I kind of tried to scatter them amongst all of the platoons. You got some NCOs with either Thompsons or Sten guns, and then you've got just guys doing their thing with rifles, Lee Enfields. Now the combat patrols, you might notice that I only put 2 figures on these patrols, and I instead of 3. I felt like, well, I did my Germans and my American paratroopers with 3, and they look more like they in my head, because they've got the same number of men as the combat units, it gives the impression that they maybe should be able to fight back or shoot or something like that, and combat patrols are not. So I put 2 figures on there to give them the effect like they are less men, not real. They're just a support element. They're not really fighting. And of course, I use some of the new what do they call those things? Tufts. I like that tuff. I like the tufts with like the brown on the bottom and the green on the top. I don't know. It just does something for me. And then I've got some clump foliage and some of my old tufts I stuck on there as well, just to give a variety. All right, so that was the gray company. All right, let's pull out the next one. All right, now this is the brown or English uniform colored bases. So the combat patrols and the company commander have the English uniform or brown, battle dress brown. Again, you're going to see Piats, you're going to see Sten guns, you're going to see some Thompsons, and you're going to see Bren guns and 2-inch mortars. But they're going to be scattered throughout the entire thing. Now, I want to point out that I anticipated having this done like 3 days ago, but I ran into a number of problems. Not problems, I should say opportunities, because I noticed a couple of their packs were not painted. I noticed that some of the canteens were painted wrong. I noticed that there were some, their helmets had kind of a gunship green color, which is kind of a blue green. The scrim needed to be redone. I also added the antenna. There was a number of minor little details. I noticed that the entrenching tool on a couple of these guys, the wood wasn't painted. So basically, I just went through and touched all these guys up and brought them up to a level of standard that I accept. Yeah, so, and I think they look really good. You guys can tell me what you think of them, but I think they look good, and I would not be shy or disappointed or embarrassed to field these guys on the table. All right, that was a battle dress brown company. Let's bring out the next one. All right, well, now this is the last glass company for my battalion, and it's the green company. These guys have the green bases, and you're going to see the same thing, same composition. Now, one company might have an extra Bren gun, another company might have an extra Piat, another company might have an extra 2-inch mortar. It's mainly because if I had 4 or 5 of those types of troops, well, then I had to spread them out or scatter them around. I learned quite a bit about color coding and color patterns and uniform, and a lot between the time that I painted these up originally and the touch-ups that I did just recently. So I think I learned quite a bit about the British uniform, the late war British uniform, not early war. These are all late war. All right, now I promised that I would talk a little bit about upcoming, what's going on with my O group. Well, I got my buildings in, so all I need to do is build a couple of town built up areas. I don't really even need to do that. I can just use my MDF bases, and I'm thinking I don't even need to do that. I could probably make some felt, with putty and flock and stuff, make some felt town sectors. But I think I want to prefer or stick to the MDF bases for just for clarity. And I want to flock them up, maybe put a little mud on them or something like that. And then maybe put some cork foundations down so that I can just sit my buildings on top of these bases, so they don't have to be permanently glued onto these bases. But having said that, I could, with what I've got right now on the shelf, play a game. All right, because as you know, I already did with the Lafier Bridge company test that I did. and you can see the first handful of turns. And what I want to do is start doing some battle reports, but I also want to do a boot camp where I go over the rules chapter by chapter. I think I'm going to do a boot camp first because I've got a pretty good grasp of the rules as it sits, and doing the boot camp, what I tend to do is open up a chapter and the rule book on the table and just read straight from the book into the microphone and share my anecdotes or my opinions on those rules. But it's pretty much a rules reading, right? And I might not read every single line or every show every table or something like that, but it's enough to let the players know how to play. And and so if you're interested in, if you watch the boot camp and you like the rules, maybe you can go out and get a copy of them yourself. But partially, one of the reasons why I do boot camps is not necessarily for the audience. I mean, it is obviously for the audience, but partially it's because it helps me retain the rules. Because if I'm sitting down and I only do one chapter at a time, or two, depending on how short the chapter is, and I read the rules out loud and I show you with figures on the table and roll a few dice on the table and show you how that rule is implemented or played out, what that does is it ingrains the rules in my own head. And hopefully, you'll learn something from it too. But that's what I'm planning to do. I plan to start the boot camp tomorrow night, actually. And it'll probably go on for about a week. Every couple of days, I'll probably do another couple of chapters, something like that. And then by next week, I think I'm going to do the very first mission. I'm going to do a battle report. And it is, by then I'm sure I'll have my built up areas built up to the point that I feel comfortable with them. And the first mission actually requires a British battalion. So I've got my British battalion good to go. So right now I've got a German battalion, a British battalion, and a U.S. paratrooper battalion, which could easily be substituted for U.S. infantry. Or I have U.S. infantry figures, they're just not complete. I also have German SS and Fallschirmjägers, they're not complete. And I also have British paratroopers, and of course, they're not complete. So right now I just got 3 battalions. And because all the battalions have almost exactly the same composition, you don't really need to have like 2 different types of German battalions. But I just like painting the different camouflage patterns and using the appropriate type of unit depending on what the mission is, or the scenario. All right, so let's do a short recap. I finished the British up to a point that's playable. I got a battalion plus, and I'm going to start my boot camp immediately tomorrow, and then next week I'm going to record a battle report and upload that, the following day or two, depending on how long it takes me to edit it. It's not going to be live. All right. Be sure to check out my eBay store where you can find models like this. Also, some painted, some still in the box. You can find 28 millimeter, 15 millimeter, 1/72. I've got fantasy, sci-fi, historical, ancients, Napoleonics, World War II, etc. Or if you want me to paint some models for you, if you like these British and you think this is the kind of paint job that you would like for your own troops, contact me and I will send you a price sheet, and then we will get started from there. All right, guys, thanks for coming out and checking out this video, and I will catch you in the next one.